Math 1108, Section 9.5, Applications with Quadratic Equations. In number 1, the product of two consecutive even integers is 528. Find the integers. Two consecutive even integers differ by 2, so x and x plus 2 can represent the two integers. The product, which means multiply x times x plus 2, is 528. So what we have is a quadratic equation, and we can put it in standard form by subtracting 528 from both sides. And then we can use the quadratic formula to solve this. So for this one, a is 1, b is 2, c is negative 528. And then the quadratic formula, we write x equals negative b, negative 2 plus and minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 528. And this is all divided by 2 times 1. And then we do the arithmetic. In the numerator, we have negative 2 plus and minus, and then the square root of some number, all divided by 2. Okay, well, on the inside of the parentheses, we have, or on the inside of the square root, we have 2 squared, which is 4. And we're subtracting 4 times 1 times negative 528. So if we subtract a negative, that's equivalent to adding a positive. And 4 times 528 is just 2,112. 2112, and then we have x equals negative 2 plus and minus the square root of 2116, 2116, all divided by 2, and the square root of 2116 simplifies to 46. You can use a high-powered calculator to compute that. So in the numerator, negative 2 plus and minus 46 divided by 2. One of the solutions for x is negative. X equals negative 2 minus 46 divided by 2, which is negative 48 divided by 2, or negative 24. And the other solution is positive. X equals negative 2 plus 46 divided by 2, or 44 divided by 2, which is positive 22. Okay, so what that means is that there are two sets of answers. In other words, one pair of consecutive even integers are odd, and the other pair of consecutive even integers are negative. So the positive ones are x equals 22 and x plus 2, which is 24. You can verify that 22 times 24 is 528. And then the other pair are negatives, so negative 24 and negative 22. Those also have a product of 528. Okay, in the next problem, it says the area of a triangle is 40 square feet. Remember that for a triangle, the area is 1/2 times the base times the height for any triangle. We're told that the area is 40 and the base is 2 feet longer than the height. So we can pick a variable to represent the height. Say the height is x feet, and the base is 2 feet longer, so the base will be represented by x plus 2. And so we just use the formula for the area of a triangle and the fact that the area of this triangle is 40 square feet. So replace a with 40, that's equal to 1/2 times the base, which is x plus 2, times the height, which is x. And we get a quadratic equation. So let's multiply both sides by 2, so that 40 times 2 is 80, and we'll multiply x plus 2 times x, which is x squared plus 2x. And then we'll write the quadratic equation in standard form by subtracting 80 from both sides. So I'll write it as x squared plus 2x minus 80 equals 0. And then we can use the quadratic formula where a is 1, b is positive 2, and c is negative 80. Okay, so x equals negative 2 plus and minus the square root of 2 to the second minus 4 times 1 times negative 80. And this is all divided by 2 times 1. And then we write negative 2 plus and minus the square root of 4 minus negative 320, which is 4 plus 320, all divided by 2 times 1, or 2. Okay, then we simplify a little bit more. We get x equals negative 2. Here I'll pause for a second. Notice that one of the solutions is negative, but in the context of the problem, a negative solution doesn't make sense. So we're going to pick the solution we get by adding. So negative 2 plus the square root of 324, all divided by 2. And the square root of 324 is just 18. And so negative 2 plus 18 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. And so x represents the height, which is 8 feet. The base is x plus 2, or 10 feet. So I'll just write the height as 8 feet. And the base is 2 feet longer, which is 10 feet. Okay, moving along to the next example. We have a work problem. Working together, James and Mary can do the yard work in 8 minutes. When each works alone, Mary takes 12 minutes longer than James. Find how long it takes each to do the yard work alone. So we'll write down a rate times time equals 1 equation for James, a rate times time equals 1 equation for Mary, and then a rate times time equals 1 equation when they work together. So first we're told that when they work together, so James works at a certain rate, Mary works at a certain rate, and so when they work together we add the rates, and in 8 minutes they can do the job. They can rake, or they can do the yard work, which is one job. We're told that Mary takes 12 minutes longer than James, so let's pick x to represent the amount of times it takes James by himself. So we have rate times time equals 1 for James. And then Mary takes 12 minutes longer than James, so Mary's time is represented by x plus 12. So her equation is her rate times x plus 12 minutes equals 1. So solve each of the equations for the rates. James' rate is represented by 1 over x. Mary's rate is 1 over x plus 12. The sum of the rates is 1/8. So by substitution, we replace James's rate with 1 over x, add that to Mary's rate, which is 1 over x plus 12, and the sum of the rates is 1/8. So this is an equation with rational expressions. So the least common denominator, we want to multiply every term on both sides by the least common denominator, which is 8 times x plus 12. And we've done this enough to know what's going to happen. When we multiply 1 over x by 8x times x plus 12, the x's cancel, so we'll be left with 8 times x plus 12. When we multiply the least common denominator by the next term, 1 over x plus 12, the x plus 12's cancel, and we'll just have plus 8x. And then on the right-hand side, so this is supposed to be an equal sign, on the right-hand side, multiply 1/8 times the least common denominator, the 8's cancel, and we'll have x times x plus 12. So we do algebra and arithmetic. Here we have 8x plus 96 plus 8x. On the right-hand side, x to the second plus 12x. We have a quadratic equation. So we'll replace we'll make the left-hand side 0 by subtracting a total of 16x from both sides and also subtracting 96 from both sides. So 0 equals x squared minus 4x minus 96. Okay, it turns out that this will factor pretty nicely. We can use the quadratic formula, but we can also solve it by factoring. The two factors are x minus 12 and x plus 8, x minus 12 and x plus 8. And you can verify by multiplying the two factors. We can do that visually here. Negative 12 times 8 is negative 96, and negative 12 plus 8 is negative 4. Only one of the solutions is positive, and that's the one that makes sense. So x equals 12. That's the number of minutes it takes James by himself, and Mary takes 12 minutes longer. Her amount of time is 12 plus 12, so x plus 12 is 24. So up here I'll just write that James will take 12 minutes to do the yard work by himself, and Mary takes 24 minutes to do the yard work by herself. Okay, moving on to the next problem. This one, in 10 hours, Mitch paddled 24 miles up a river and back 24 miles. So upstream he paddled 24 miles, and he paddled 24 miles back, and the total amount of time taken was 10 hours. And we're told in still water, Mitch paddles 5 miles per hour. So find the speed of the current of the river and round to the nearest tenth of a mile per hour. Okay, so Mitch paddled upstream a distance of 24 miles, and then he traveled back downstream also for a distance of 24 miles. And when he's going upstream against the current, and if we let x be the speed of the current, then the boat is traveling at 5 minus x miles per hour, and we'll use t sub u for the amount of time it takes him to travel or to paddle 24 miles upstream. When he's going downstream, the boat is going at 5 plus x miles per hour, and t sub d represents the amount of time it takes him to paddle 24 miles downstream. Okay, so x represents the current speed, and we're told that the total amounts of time add up to 10. So the time it takes to travel or to paddle 24 miles upstream plus the amount of time it takes to paddle 24 miles downstream is a total of 10 hours. Okay, so what we do is solve for each equation for time. This time is 24 divided by 5 minus x. This time is 24 divided by 5 plus x. And the two amounts of time add up to 10. So our equation to solve is 24 divided by 5 minus x plus 24 divided by 5 plus x equals 10. The least common denominator is just 5 minus x times 5 plus x. So we multiply every term on both sides by the least common denominator. In this first product, the 5 minus x factors cancel, so we're left with 24 times 5 plus x. Then we add that to 24 over 5 plus x times the least common denominator. This time the 5 plus x factors cancel, so we have plus 24 times 5 minus x. And on the right-hand side, we have 10 times the entire product. I'll just multiply those out here. 5 minus x times 5 plus x. It's going to be 25 plus 5x minus 5x, so those cancel each other out, and then minus x squared. So this is 10 times 25 minus x squared. We're running out of time, so we'll complete this in the next video.